Hello everyone, it's another Marvel Monday and today I'm going to be taking another look at the Marvel Legends X-Men retro line from Hasbro, and this week it is the turn of Dark Phoenix. This is another highly anticipated character to be produced in this line, as it's been quite a long time since we had our last Phoenix figure in this series. Now, looking at the packaging, of course it is in that retro style, very nostalgic for anyone who grew up in the 90s buying these X-Men figures from Toy Biz. I'm a huge fan of this approach, especially because it's so presentable, it looks so good on display. Now, looking back to the Toy Biz years, I don't think they ever actually produced a Dark Phoenix in this title card series. They did produce one a little bit later on under the Marvel Universe banner, and it's actually quite a cool figure. I quite liked how they decided to give it translucent hair that would light up, which is an interesting approach. Of course, a few years later in the Marvel Legends line, Toy Biz would produce their own Dark Phoenix in this scale, and it left something to be desired. I always felt it was a little bit clunky, but it was a good effort all in all for the time. If we flip the packaging, we can see a little bit of bio about the character and the other figures on the right hand side available in this wave. Now, interestingly, there is no BAF in this wave, so you don't have to collect them all if you don't want to, but there's some really interesting characters in here. If you're an X-Men fan, I'm sure you're going to want to pick up some of these. Now, the figure itself is very nicely painted, and I have to give them top marks for the overall presentation, because this is a very bright and colourful character, a very bright and colourful costume, and I think this looks really nice. I'm particularly impressed with the head sculpt. I do believe this is a brand new head sculpt, at least when it comes to the hair piece. I don't think I've seen this on any other figures, but what's really tremendous about it is the paint apps here. I really feel like they've capitalised on the sculpt and give this a lot of texture. We can see a lot of different colours. We have the base plastic, but then we have a red, and we certainly have a bit of a black wash running through it to give it a lot of depth and texture, and I think this looks really good and very, very striking. Now, one gripe I do have with the costume is that all the details are actually painted on, so we can see that the sleeves of the arm are molded in that base plastic, and then they're just kind of painted onto the top of the arm there, which is a little bit disappointing. It would have been nice if this had been sculpted in. Likewise, the Phoenix logo on the chest, it's not a deal breaker. I still think it looks really nice and colourful and presentable. There's nothing wrong with this, but if it had been sculpted in, it just would have given it a bit more depth and texture. But she does have the double joint at the elbow. This is a brand new innovation for this line. So we've seen this on a handful of other figures so far, but instead of the usual pin swivel that we see in the female characters, they are now being given these double jointed elbows. So I think a lot of fans will be very, very pleased to see this. The belt or sash is a separate plastic piece. This can be moved around a little bit, but it is moulded into one shape. There's not a lot of detailing on it, there's no real shading on it, which is a shame, but it does have this fantastic Phoenix logo at the cusp there, which I think looks really good, and that is painted a slightly different gold, which works really quite nicely. The legs and feet are the pretty standard Marvel Legends fare that we've seen over the years. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this, but there's absolutely nothing new either. Now, as much as I really like this new head sculpt, it does cause some problems when it comes to the articulation. Yes, there is a ball joint in the head, but as you can see, there is some hindrance here from that very hard plastic piece of the hair that stops it moving all the way, which is a real shame. Now, she does have ball joints in the shoulders, so those arms lift up and out. There's a complementary bicep swivel. There's the double jointed elbow that allows the arms to go all the way back there, which is great. And there is a pin swivel at the wrist there, allowing that hand to rotate all the way around, and of course hinge forwards and backwards as well. Now, there is that upper torso joint that we've seen before, so there is a ball joint here that allows the figure to move from side to side, lean from left to right, and of course bend forwards and backwards as well. Now, there's ball joints in the hips, which are neatly disguised, so those legs will kick out to the side. There's an upper thigh swivel, and of course the legs kick forwards, backwards, double joint at the knees, allowing that lower leg to kick all the way back there, and of course the ankle pivot that allows that foot to hinge forwards and backwards, but also twist from side to side. This isn't a character that requires a lot of accessories, so it's no surprise that she's fairly light in this department, but she does come with an extra pair of open hands and this rather groovy Phoenix flame. I do really like this piece. I really like the sculpting on it. We can see the Phoenix there, looking really powerful and really fun. So I think they've done a really nice job of this. It does kind of slip onto the wrist around the lower arm there, but it's a little bit clumsy and it's a little bit difficult for it to hold it solidly. There is going to be a lot of wobbling and falling around. So yeah, we'll have to persevere with this. But when you get it in position, it does look pretty cool actually. Now the other thing is it is cast in a translucent plastic, so if you shine a light behind it, it will catch that light very nicely and light up. And it looks pretty fun when you do that. Okay, so final thoughts from me then. Well, for me, I'm afraid I'm going to have to give this 3 stars. Now, all in all, this is a perfectly good figure. This functions very, very well. The articulation is fine, and I think there's some slight improvements there, especially when it comes to the elbow. So this works very well articulation-wise. It looks really good. I really do like the wash that they've given in the hair. That gives it a lot more texture and volume, which I think looks really good. And I think the overall aesthetic is great. But I don't really think it's anything particularly special. So for me, this is harder to justify giving it anything above a 3-star. This is a fairly average Marvel Legends figure in my opinion. It's nicely done, it's what we expect, it is a very high standard, but there's nothing really particularly special about it. I do appreciate the Phoenix mold that they're giving it, but it didn't really need this. It is a nice little extra, but it's not earth-shattering. All in all, a nice figure, definitely a welcome addition to the line, and a much sought after character, well overdue an update, and a very nice update it is, but nothing particularly special here. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like, and remember to subscribe as there'll be plenty more videos soon.